Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 20 says, "But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let everyone be silent before him." Everyone includes the preacher. Everyone includes the singer. Everyone includes the deacon. Everyone includes the elder. Everyone includes everyone. Let everyone be silent before him. The topic for today, day 3 of our 10 days of prayer, is the blessing of waiting. The blessing of waiting. Our key text is Psalm number 46, verse 10. And it is simple, clear, but speaks volumes. And it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I am God. This suggests to me that it is God speaking. Be still and know that I am God. This suggests to me also that in order for me to know that the Lord is God, I need to pause and be still. This suggests to me that in my busyness, in my rushful moments, sometimes I even fail to acknowledge that the Lord is God. Be still and know that I am God. This also reminds me of another text in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. 14:13. Exodus. And it says, "And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will shew to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. But first, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." This suggests also to me that many times we have failed to see the salvation of the Lord because in our busy schedules, because in our packed days with activities, so many activities, we have failed to stand still. We have failed to be still, and so we have failed to see the salvation of the Lord. Verse 14 speaks to me personally because I have an attachment to it. And it says, "The Lord shall fight for you. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." And so, there are also sometimes we take the credit which belongs to God. We take his credit because in our working hard without break, in our working so hard without pausing, in our working hard without even a minute to breathe and ponder and meditate on God, at the end when we achieve, we take all the credit. And when we are sharing stories on our parties, on our graduations, on our Thanksgivings, we explain how much we have gone through. We explain how much we have done. And sometimes we miss God in the picture. Or sometimes we mention him shortly because we did not pause to be still and know that the Lord is God. Moses said these words to the Israelites while at the Red Sea. Be still and know and see the salvation of the Lord. The Lord will fight for you and you shall hold your peace. Sometimes we have forfeited peace. Sometimes we have rejected ourselves. We have denied ourselves the peace due to us, the peace that we deserve, because we have failed to pause to see the salvation of the Lord, that we may hold our peace. No wonder, because this was the Israelites' problem of rushing, the Israelites' problem of being restless, Israelites' problem of not waiting. Waiting is not easy. Waiting is not easy. But in this lesson, we have been shown that waiting is a biblical virtue. No wonder, while at the foot of Mount Sinai, as Moses went up, he delayed only 40 days, and they were tired of waiting. And they said to Aaron, this man who went up there, you said he went to meet the Lord, but we don't know what is happening up there. Now Aaron, make us a god. And Aaron also, an elder. Aaron also, a leader, did not reason scripturally, did not reason spiritually with the people, but he hearkened to the people. He gave in to the demands of the people, and he made a golden calf, and he made statements that were blasphemous, and said, listen, O Israel, behold, here is your God, pointing to the golden calf. Here is your God who brought you out of Egypt. And so they abandoned the God who led them through from Egypt, through the Red Sea, provided for them in the wilderness. Now Moses has delayed only 40 days, and they are tired of waiting. The Lord seems silent for only a while, and we find other means. We have prayed, presented our requests, and the Lord seems silent, and we take our ways. Be still and know that I am God. The biblical virtue of slowing down. The acknowledgement of God requires us to first pause and reflect and be still. In order for us to acknowledge the Lord as God, we need to pause and be still and be still. Sometimes in our busyness, we get tempted to even take the place of God, especially in decision making. The Bible records a king who was tired of waiting, who was restless, waiting for Prophet Samuel to come and offer the sacrifice so that they go for war. Prophet Samuel has delayed a little bit, and the king is restless, is tired of waiting, and he takes on the prerogatives that belonged to the prophet alone. So sometimes in our business, we tend to take on the place which is not even ours. We tend to take on the responsibilities that are not ours. And in the end also, consequently, we take the credit which does not really belong to us. In an age of constant movement and noise pollution. Nothing is more critical than stillness and quiet. In our hectic modern life, daily urgencies demand our attention. We have become accustomed to the fast food mentality, where we expect things the quickest way possible. And these days we no longer even cook food to completion. We have become accustomed to fast food because business must continue. These days we no longer even eat healthy food because we are so busy. We need the snacks to eat such that we can continue with our work. And so this also has dire effects on and implications on our health. We have forgotten how to wait patiently. And this impatience can leak into our spiritual walk with devastating effects. The visual impulses and acoustic distractions of this hyper-connected age make it even harder to slow down and become still. Learning to wait in quietness and focusing our thoughts on divine matters as we talk with God may seem like a strange practice for many today, but it is actually a biblical virtue that needs to be revived. Learning to wait in quietness and focusing on our thoughts on divine matters is a divine virtue that needs to be revived. Yet to many it is a strange thing and practice. Among the many voices and noises of the modern world, we need to learn how to recognize the Lord's voice and become acquainted with it. And this requires first to be still and wait in quietness. There are so many noises. There are so many voices that we hear. There are so many advices that we get. There are so many counsels that we get. We need to be able to recognize the one which comes from the Lord. Among the so many voices, among the so many advices and counsels, we need to stand still. We need to pause and think which one comes from the man of God, which one comes from the Spirit of God. It requires stillness. We need to be still and know that the Lord is God. There is a statement that I once read, but I don't remember, in the spirit of prophecy, that those who die after acquainting themselves with the voice of Christ, upon his second coming, he will call them from the grave, and they will be able to recognize that voice and come out. And so it takes a moment. It takes diligent quietness while we live today to acquaint ourselves with the voice of Christ, so that when we rest and he calls on the day of resurrection, on the resurrection morning, we may be able to recognize his voice and come out of the grave. Cultivating a quiet space that is not crowded with other urgencies and preserving unclaimed time is crucial to connecting with God. To slow down, to sit still, to breathe, to remind ourselves of God's tender care, to patiently wait, and not to get nervous. If God doesn't immediately answer our prayers, these are acts that we need to learn afresh. Benefits of waiting. These are Christian virtues. It is a Christian virtue to wait, and it comes with benefits if we pay heed to it. There is no hope without waiting. There is no hope without waiting. Titus chapter 2, verse 13. There is no endurance without waiting. Romans chapter 5, verses 3 and 4. There is no patience without waiting. The other time, the first day, we reminded ourselves of the Christian virtues. Patience is one of them. Self-control is another. Love is another. Obedience, honesty. But there is no patience without waiting. And so in order for us to cultivate this virtue in us, we need to learn to wait. There is no longing without waiting. Even longing for the Lord. Sometimes he distances himself purposefully, on purpose, that we may long for him. Sometimes he may purpose to go silent so that we can long for him. Because we may take him for granted if he keeps providing everything on time when we need them. We may take his benefits for granted. He needs sometimes to withhold a bit so that we can learn to long for him and to long for his benefits. There is no life without waiting. There is no human history without waiting. Waiting is part of human existence. Throughout Scripture, we encounter God's people in an attentive attitude of waiting. Biblical writers often express their waiting expectations with a question, how long? With a question, how long? Like in Hebrews chapter 1 verse 2. There is no hope without waiting. There is no endurance without waiting. While waiting, we often focus on the problems that are unpleasant and hope they will pass away. But waiting does not mean sitting passively, doing nothing, and hoping that an unpleasant situation will somehow disappear. No. Waiting patiently does not mean that you are going to sit idly, passively, doing nothing. But you need to pause and have the Lord have his way and have his position and have the Lord give his guidance so that whatever I lay my hand on is guided by the Lord. And so it does not mean that waiting patiently, I will sit passively, but I can wait actively, but having the Lord guiding me. From a biblical perspective, the primary purpose of waiting is to bring to light who I am and who I am becoming while I wait. The experience of waiting confronts me with a significant spiritual decision. In my impatience and doubt, I do question God's goodness and omnipotence. Do I recognize that in waiting, I am confronted with a unique opportunity that will help me to become the person God wishes me to become? Through the experience of waiting, I can become the person I would never have been otherwise. If we look at it this way, waiting becomes God's means of transformation, to change us according to His will. Thus, waiting is truly an expression of God's goodness and grace. It helps us to become more like God, who waits in great patience, not wanting anyone to be lost who could be saved. And so waiting is a biblical virtue, and waiting is godly, and God also waits on us, seeking that we may be saved and not lost.